this menstruation occurs, we'll discuss in details. To understand the physiology of menstruation, we have to know two basic things, that is the hormonal regulations and ovarian changes. What are the ovarian changes occurs? So this is ovary. There are two ovary. This is the ovary, and this is our pituitary gland. This is the anterior pituitary, and this is the posterior pituitary. And here we will discuss in this what are the physiological changes occurs and how these cycles occurs. We already know that menstruation cycle is on average 28 days. So 0 to 28 days I have given. Now from the first onwards we will discuss how this menstruation is regulated by hormones. Let's we discuss in details. These pituitary hormones are under the control of hypothalamus. Under the control of hypothalamus. So let's we discuss in details. This is the uterine wall. The menses is in general on average 4 days. How many days? It is average 4 days. This occurs in is called menses, which is the shedding of endometrium layer, discharge, shedding of endometrium layer. During this time, the menses, estrogen and progesterone level, this is the estrogen level and this is the progesterone level. I will give another color for progesterone levels is decreased in blood, and due to this estrogen and progesterone level, mainly progesterone level decrease in the blood, that will cause a feedback mechanism, and due to the decrease of the progesterone level, which will influence feedback mechanism, that is called negative feedback. Due to the decrease of this progesterone level in the hypothalamus, it increase the release of gonadotropin releasing hormone. Hypothalamus will come release gonadotropin releasing hormone, which affects on the anterior pituitary gland to release one hormone which is called FSH. FSH means follicle stimulating hormone. That follicle stimulating hormones will act on the small primordial follicles which are placed on the ovarii. This is suppose F follicles, small follicles. So follicle stimulating hormones will now stimulate the small one follicle, that is called primordial or primary follicle, stimulate, and that follicle will start growing, becoming slowly enlarged, and it is called secondary follicle. During this growth of these follicles, and that follicle will release what? Estrogen. and now slowly the estrogen level will increase. Estrogen level is increased. So this follicle is now growing till the estrogen level will increase and the follicles will try to mature. But the progesterone levels remain very less, decline. When these follicles, Graafian follicle, become matured, these are matured follicles. On average it is 14 days and the mid of the menstruation cycle, 14 days, and that time ovulation occurs. This will rupture and this ovum, this is the ovum, this ovum is released and the remaining part of the cell of that Graafian follicle is called corpus luteum. And before ovulation, that rupture, release of ovum is called ovulation. So the period before ovulation is called follicular phase because it influenced by follicle. The estrogens are released by follicles. So it is called follicular phase. Follicular phase. So that follicular phase is having again some two part. First part of follicular phase is called menses or period, that take about 4 days, and after menses the developmental phase, the follicle will develop, follicle will increase to mature, and that is called pre-ovulatory phase. Before ovulation occurs, pre-ovulatory phase, or it is called developmental phase or follicular growth phase. Pre-ovulatory phase, before follicles, or follicular phase or developmental phase. Anyway, when these estrogen levels will become peak on around before ovulation, estrogen level is around peak, and in that time here we will discuss that the follicle stimulating hormones also, because due to the growth the follicle stimulating hormone FSH, this is the graph of follicle stimulating hormone, also increase and it is declining slowly. When estrogen level get peak in the blood, which will inhibit the hypothalamus, and gonadotropin releasing hormone is inhibited, and inhibitory hormone will produce, and gonadotropin hormones will not release, which will again act on the anterior pituitary gland to release another hormone which is called luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone. Now, what is the function of luteinizing hormones? When this luteinizing hormone is released, which will act on this matured luteinizing hormone, will act on the matured Graafian follicle, and which is called the ovulation. Immediately this luteinizing hormone slightly increase the estrogen and progesterone level, and after that ovulation, ovum is released. This is the ovum is released. The remaining part of that cell, Graafian follicle, is called corpus luteum. Next part of that ovulation is controlled by corpus luteum, and that's why that is called luteal phase. And in that luteal phase, what happened? So we have not discussed here, after menses what happened, proliferative phase is there. Proliferative phase means the endometrium layer will proliferate. That is called proliferative phase. Endometrium layer is proliferate. So growth will take place. And after ovulation, that corpus luteum releases hormone is mainly progesterone. Now in that blood, progesterone level start increasing and estrogen level decreasing, and this progesterone called the endometrial layer growth of the endometrial layer, so that conception, implantation of the, if ovum fertilized with sperm, then implantation, uterus can implant the zygote. For that it will cause the growth of the endometrium layer. Now corpus luteum, if fertilization not take place, slowly that corpus luteum diminishes and it become corpus albicans. Corpus albicans, it function, the release of progesterone hormones are decreased and estrogen hormone also decrease. So what happened, slowly at the end of that phase, again the estrogen and progesterone level decline. Estrogen and progesterone level decline, and that endometrium layer cannot hold its linings, and after that on 28 days again discharge, shedding will take place. Discharge of that lining will take place, which is called mens. So we understood the complete process of physiology of menstruation. That physiology of menstruation is totally controlled by hormonal regulation and the level of estrogen and progesterone level in the blood before ovulation, which is called follicular phase. That the release of estrogen and progesterone hormone, mainly estrogen, is released by growing follicles. So while follicle will grow, that time follicle will release the estrogen, and that due to the estrogen level, increase of the estrogen level, which cause the proliferation of endometrium layer, uterine layer. After then, when sufficient amount of estrogen level achieved, peak level achieved in the blood, which cause the negative feedback estrogen level and inhibit gonadotropin releasing hormones, and it cause release of inhibitory hormone which cause release of luteinizing hormone, and then luteinizing hormone cause the ovulation, rupture of the matured follicle. After ovulation occur, ovum is released and the remaining part of this follicle is called corpus luteum, and that corpus luteum that time starts secretions of progesterone, and then progesterone level is increased, and this progesterone maintain the endometrial layer growth. So that's why the corpus luteum maintain the cycle phase after ovulation. That's why it is called luteal phase. Luteal means corpus luteum, it comes from lead luteum, luteal phase. So by this way complete menstruation